Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Al24 Midnight News Edition coming to you live from Algiers, and to the headlines. While Washington describes the diplomatic option as the best way to settle the crisis in the country, Niger's military council refuses the reception of the ECOWAS delegation and appoints a new prime minister. With the 2 flights per week, Algerian airline company Air Algérie announced the opening of a direct route linking Algiers to the city of Johannesburg in South Africa, starting from September 21st. Libya is facing a crucial week to launch the course of elections, and the European Union renews its support for the country's election process. As part of an investigation into the death of a young man in July's riots in Marseille, French authorities held 5 police officers in custody and placed them in a pre-trial detention. Hello again and welcome. First in our news, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf will arrive starting from Tuesday evening in Washington on a 2-day working visit commissioned by Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune to a statement by the Algerian Foreign Ministry. His visit, which comes in response to the invitation of his American counterpart, Antony Blinken, falls with the framework of efforts to enhance economic cooperation and intensify political dialogue between Algeria and the US in a way that serves the aspiration of the 2 parties to build a strategic partnership and contribute to advancing their joint commitment to spreading security and stability in the region as well as within the international scene. To a different matter now, the military council in Niger, that is also pronounced Niger, refused to receive the ECOWAS delegation under the current circumstances for security reasons. Media reported, quoting the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Niger, in a letter addressed to representative of the Economic Community of West African States in Niamey, confirming that the current context of anger and resentment of the population after sanctions imposed by ECOWAS does not allow the delegation to receive in a calm and safe environment. Ousted Prime Minister of Niger, Mohamedou, has indicated that the military council in Niger requested from the ECOWAS delegation to return to Niamey for negotiations. Mohamedou said in an interview granted to a French channel that everyone in Niger is convinced of the necessity of restoring power through diplomacy, not war.
La négociation est encore possible.
Negotiation is still possible, and President Bazoum is convinced with that, and his morale is running high. We hope that our country restores democracy through negotiations and dialogue with the help of ECOWAS. The non-implementation by the bloc of its threat of military intervention didn't disappoint us. Our objective is to restore democracy through dialogue and not through military intervention, in addition to ending the detention of President Mohamed Bazoum.
Et la fin de la séquestration du président Bazoum.
The spokesperson of the ECOWAS president in Nigeria said that Bola Tinubu and the Economic Community of West African States, which he shares, prefer a diplomatic and peaceful solution to deal with the military coup in Niger. This comes as the ECOWAS group announced on Wednesday new sanctions that include individuals and entities linked to the coup leaders in Niger. The Economic Community of the West African States, ECOWAS, announced on Wednesday new sanctions that include individuals and entities linked to the coup leaders in Niger. The bloc has suspended all commercial transactions with Niger, frozen its state assets in the regional central bank, frozen assets of the state and state enterprises in commercial banks, and also suspended all financial assistance with regional development banks. The military council in Niger announced the appointment of Al-Amin Zian Ali as a prime minister in a statement read on Nigerian television on Monday evening. Al-Amin Zian Ali had held finance minister position for the year 2022, and he also previously held the position of representative of the African Development Bank in Chad, Côte d'Ivoire, and Gabon. The coup leaders made changes in the army, including the positions of Inspector General of the Army, Chief of the Special Staff of the President, and the new Chief of the Presidential Guard.
Decree
appointing the Prime Minister, the President of the National Council of the Safeguarding of the Homeland, the Head of State. Decree Article 1 appoints Mr. Al-Amin Ali Zain as Prime Minister. Decree appointing the Chief of the Presidential Guard, the President of National Council for the Safeguarding of the Homeland, the Head of State. Decree Article 1 appointing Lieutenant Colonel Habibu Otman as Commander of Presidential Guard.
In similar note, Mali and Burkina Faso's military government sent a delegation to Niamey on Monday to show unity with the leaders of the coup in Niger amid regional threats to intervene against them. This comes as West African leaders schedule a summit for Thursday to discuss the coup leaders' rejection of a ultimatum to reinstate the ousted president. Abdullah Maiga, spokesman for the Malian government, stated that his visit, accompanied by the Burkinabe delegation, comes to express strong solidarity with the people of Niger, with the categorical refusal to implement illegal, illegitimate, and inhuman sanctions against the people of Niger.
Par le président du Conseil national pour la sauvegarde de la patrie.
The audience granted to us by the President of the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland centered on the main decisions taken by Their Excellencies Colonel Assimi Goïta and his counterpart from Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Following the ECOWAS sanctions, this decision, mentioned in the joint communiqué of July 31, 2023, includes a very strong solidarity with the people of Niger, with whom we share both history and geography, as well as a categorical refusal on the part of Mali and Burkina Faso to implement these illegal, illegitimate and inhumane sanctions against the people of Niger.
D'exécuter ces sanctions illégales, illégitimes et inhumaines prises contre le peuple nigérien.
The spokesman for Malian government Abdullah Maiga added in his statement that military intervention in Niger remain unacceptable by the authorities in Bamako also and Ouagadougou, stressing that the region bears negative social, security and political consequences and repercussions of NATO's intervention in Libya.
Ça fait plus de 10 ans
I would like to remind you that Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have been dealing for over 10 years with the negative socio-economic, security, political and humanitarian consequences of NATO's hazardous adventure in Libya. Of course, we ask ourselves, if it took us 10 years, how many years would it take us to get over another adventure of the same nature in Niger? We don't know, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. One thing is certain, President Goïta and President Traoré have already said no, no and no. We will not accept military intervention in Niger. They are coming for our survival.
Still with this matter, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has underlined on Tuesday the necessity of the return of ousted President Mohamed Bazoum to his position. Blinken has affirmed that what is happening in Niger is undermining the constitutional order.
We back the efforts of ECOWAS in Africa to try and restore constitutional order in Niger. We endeavor in a diplomatic way to back their efforts. I am on regular contact with leaders in Africa and even with ECOWAS, with the African Union, and obviously with our partners in Europe, including France. Therefore, like other countries, we are trying to foster diplomacy for return to constitutional order.
D'avancer la diplomatie pour qu'il y ait le retour à l'ordre constitutionnel.
Meanwhile, Mr. Anthony Blinken stated that diplomacy remains the best option to solve the crisis in Niger.
Il est sûr que la diplomatie.
It's certain that diplomacy is the preferred option to resolve the situation. It is currently the approach adopted by ECOWAS, and it's our approach as well. We back the efforts of ECOWAS to restore constitutional order.
The UN aid agencies are scrambling to eke out depleting stocks just as regional sanctions potentially increase the number of people in need. The UN humanitarian chief in Niger, Louis Aubin, warned.
In Niger, which is already affected by multiple crises, UN aid agencies in the coup-hit country are warning that further instability could hamper the humanitarian response and strongly deteriorate the living conditions of the most vulnerable, including women and children, who are often the most affected during times of crisis.
There are obviously ripple effects that we're concerned with for the whole region. I mean, this is a very integrated region from socio-political, economic dimensions, and Niger being isolated or levels of violence or conflict extending beyond would certainly disrupt that natural kind of network that allows Niger to function properly. First and foremost, the people will suffer.
The UN humanitarian chief in Niger stated on Tuesday that UN aid agencies are scrambling to make contingency plans to eke out depleting stocks of food, medicines, and fuel, even as sanctions threaten to increase the number of people in need.
The risk is that we start running out of assistance materials to be able to help out people. I'm talking about simple things that are so life-saving. I'm talking about vaccines. I'm talking about food. But I'm also talking about cash. This is one way for us to be able to empower people to be able to access what they really need. But without cash flows in the country, some people will soon be feeling the pinch of this.
The combination of sanctions and conflict with the existing vulnerabilities in Niger could have devastating effects on the lives of over 4.4 million people who are already in need of humanitarian assistance.
Now, in a different matter, the Algerian airline company Air Algérie announced the launch of a direct flight linking Algiers to the South African city of Johannesburg. Spokesperson of Algerian company said that the launch of the new flight was of a great importance to the African continent. He added that this reinforces the place of the airport of Algiers as a hub given the rich program of international flights that Air Algérie offers. General Manager of the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency, Omar Rakash, said that the Malaysian group Lyon started the procedures for carrying out important structural industrial projects in Algeria at a cost of $6 billion, which would make it possible to generate nearly 10,000 jobs. The project of the Malaysian group includes, according to the same official, projects for exploitation of mining resources such as aluminum and iron ore intended for industrial exploitation, which will be produced in 2 phases. On Tuesday, the deputy of the Libyan Presidential Council, Musa Al-Kouni, received the European Union's ambassador to Libya, José Sabadell, who affirmed the European Union's continued support for Libya until it reaches the stage of stability with the success of electoral process that the Libyan people aspire to. The European official praised the efforts of the Presidential Council in resolving many files, including the opening of Coastal Road and the steps taken in the National Reconciliation Project, which has reached an advanced stages, and its unification of government institutions. And from Libya to Sudan, clashes renewed between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces with various types of weapons in the center of Darman and neighboring areas. The army bombed with artillery various locations of rapid support forces north of Darman, while the rapid support forces responded to the warplanes of Sudanese army with heavy fire. Away from the African continent to the Middle East now, the Zionist occupation has arrested 25 Palestinians on Tuesday during a large-scale arrest campaign across the occupied West Bank. Since the beginning of the year, Zionist forces have detained more than 4,400, including women and children, across the West Bank. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said in Tehran that the presence of the U.S. military in the Middle East is undermining regional security and stability. A spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry noted that Tehran believes that countries in the region are capable of ensuring the safety of the Gulf and the Sea of Oman without interference from external forces.
The U.S. military presence in the region has never been meant for maintaining security. Instead, their aim has always been to exacerbate insecurity and instability. Therefore, Iran's position is very clear. We believe in Gulf countries' ability to provide security for themselves and to design a collective security pattern without the presence of foreign troops.
Still with Iran, where country's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian called on Tuesday for collaboration between Tehran and BRICS countries. Speaking at a BRICS and Iran summit, Amir Abdullahian said his country is a reliable and effective partner in bilateral and multilateral cooperation.
The Islamic Republic of Iran is a reliable and effective partner in bilateral and multilateral cooperation due to its unique geostrategic situation and geographical location. It has massive energy resources, especially petroleum and gas, and it has a cheap and short transportation channel. The country has young, skilled and professional workers and new and innovative scientific and technological resources.
Russian Defense Ministry said on Tuesday that its army had bombed the Ukrainian command center in Pokrovsk, eastern Ukraine. A spokesperson for the Russian Defense Ministry said that an advanced command post of the Ukrainian Khotitsia battalion in the area of the town of Krasnolnik was bombed. Ukrainian officials revealed that Russian missiles hit the city of Pokrovsk twice on Monday evening, destroying a hotel and several houses.
Operational, tactical and army aviation, missile forces and artillery of groups of troops of the armed forces of the Russian Federation during the day destroyed the 122nd artillery units in firing positions, manpower and military equipment in 143 districts.
At least 5 French police officers were held in custody on Tuesday over the death of a 27-year-old man in Marseille riot in July. Mohamed Bendris was killed while filming protesters during a wave of nationwide unrest that broke out in France after a police officer fatally shot a teenager known as Nile in the suburb of Paris on June 27. Leaders of Amazon reinforced nations met Tuesday for the first time in 14 years to find common ground to protect the ecosystem, which is vital to the battle against climate change.
The Amazon rainforest is one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. 1 in 10 known species on Earth live here. However, their land is threatened. About 13% of its original area is now lost. The Komi-Mamam River is vital to the Orowaram, one of the 6 subgroups of the Wari indigenous people who have inhabited the Amazon for centuries. Their relationship is under growing threat.
Antigamente a gente não tem limite, né? A gente não tem
In the past, we didn't have limits, right? We didn't have limits. So we used to fish, hunt, peacefully, without disturbance, before the contact with white people. But not today. Today we have this greater concern, because our pristine forests are surrounded by these farms. Who knows if, in 10 years, the forest will all disappear. That's why we must preserve it.
Por 10 anos, né? A floresta vai sumir tudo. Por isso que nós temos que preservar.
Not very far from the Amazon, leaders from 8 nations are meeting for a summit in the Brazilian city of Belém to draw up a common policy to protect the rainforest. It is the first time in 14 years that there has been a gathering like this. The aim here is to ensure a regional response to combat climate change. Members also could agree to a regional pact to stop deforestation by 2030.
The Amazon faces several critical challenges that threaten its existence and its role as the lungs of the world. Deforestation in the Amazon has reached alarming levels in recent decades. Millennia-old forests are being devastated at an accelerating rate. Ancient trees are being felled illegally and without planning. This is one of the biggest challenges facing the Amazon.
The Amazon stretches across an area twice the size of India. Massive destruction of the rainforest is a climate disaster. Forest protection commitments so far have been uneven. Some countries have pledged to stop deforestation completely. However, others are reluctant to follow suit.
More international news all around the world with Hussein Barkan.
Youth Congress workers clashed with security forces in New Delhi during a protest against the sectarian violence that has ravaged India's Manipur state. Youth members of the opposition party also shouted slogans against the government and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, expressing concern about inflation and employment. The months-long outbreak of violence in Manipur began on May 3rd, after a court ordered the state to consider extending to majority Métis population special economic benefits and quotas in government jobs and education that up to now have been reserved for the tribal Koki people. Norway has approved a plan to connect Equinor Hammerfest liquefied natural gas plant to national power grid in a bid to cut greenhouse gas emissions, despite local opposition. The plan includes shutting down a gas power plant, Norway's largest single source of carbon dioxide, by 2030, and replacing it with a power supply from the grid where renewable energy dominates. Latvian president visited the border with Belarus and Russia on Tuesday, where he spoke with guards stationed along the fence separating the Baltic country from its eastern neighbors. Rankevich stated that the significant amount of provocations from Russia and Belarus had led his country to enhance its border surveillance, especially in the context of Wagner troops being relocated to Belarus. Residents in Nepal capital struggle with heavy flooding on Tuesday after a river breached its banks from monsoon rains lashing the country. The Bagmati River overflowed and flooded the surrounding region, which is home to about 4 million people. People were seen in the capital trying to bail food water out of their homes, while authorities have also asked residents near the eastern Sindor River to evacuate as the water level rises. The rains, which lash in Himalayan nation from June to September, have killed 38 people so far this year, including from landslide.
The Italian club Inter Milan have completed the signing of Swiss international goalkeeper Jan Sommer from Bayern Munich. The Nerazzurri confirmed the 34-year-old former Borussia Mönchengladbach goalkeeper's arrival in an official statement. Sommer made a total of 335 appearances for the German team Borussia Mönchengladbach during his 8.5 seasons at the club. Then, last January, Sommer made the switch to German giant Bayern Munich. Sommer isn't likely to be the first signing as a goalkeeper for Inter, so after the leaving of Onana and Semir Handanovic, both having headed for the next X-Doll.
Oh, I have a lot of reasons to come here. It's a huge club in the world, in Italy, a lot of tradition. So for me, it's a big challenge or a new challenge in my career to play for a big club like Inter. And I'm looking forward to play at San Siro, to see the fans, to see this ambience here in Milan, and it's nice to be here. Oh, I have not too many expectations, so I'm just looking forward to it. To have challenges against new opponents, against new players, new strikers, to play with our team, with Inter Milan, to be hopefully successful and to see different stadiums. And so it's all new for me in the Serie A, but I'm really happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to start.
With this new signing for Inter, we reach the end of our news bulletin. Thank you so much for your intervention, and good night.